Established in April 2021, Upland Development United is the oldest and most exclusive and transparent no development collaborative in the Upland Metaverse. Contact Morecheese at 68 for more information. Warning: this podcast is produced by Metaverse Ventures Entertainment and contains unsolicited and heavily biased opinions which are solely the views of the individuals involved. It does not include investment advice of any kind, and you are responsible for undertaking your own financial, including tax liability research relevant to your own individual circumstances.
Taking over the Upland Development United. Total meta domination.
Hello and welcome to the UDU Podcast, Year 2, number 50. I'm Ben 68 and it's either Tuesday the 17th or Wednesday the 18th of May. Today's show is again brought to you by the Upland Construction Company, who you should know by now as the UCC. The UCC focuses on transparency and consistency for a name you can trust. The following are just some of the reasons why you should consider UCC over others. UCC has a managed queuing system. Unlike exchanges, UCC manages its Spark pool so that all builds are completed in a timely manner with no additional fees. The UCC has transparent pricing, and because of the UCC's managed queuing system, prices are consistent with no hidden fees or pricing management to get your build completed. The UCC has trusted efficiency and it is fast and efficient, and we'll hear a bit more about that later because I'm currently putting them to the test. And the Upland Construction Company is not an exchange. They manage their business so you can manage yours. And perfect example, which I'll talk about again a bit later on, is I came up with a bit of a brain fart yesterday and a bit of back and forth with the team, and next minute we're off and running. So get on over and check them out and see why their motto is enjoy building with us. And yeah, like I said, got some big news to drop about MTU and the UCC later on in the show. As we've been saying, if you have an Upland NFT or Metaverse product, service or event to promote, opportunities are always available for sponsorship and engagement in the UDU podcast. Contact myself or Morecheese to discuss and secure your spots. All proceeds go towards giveaways and prizes on the podcast. A reminder that this show is open to the Upland public and we value and appreciate your inputs. So jump on in if and when you feel you've got something to add. Cheese and I don't bite. Well, okay, we do and hard, but unless you're a moribund lump, you should heal up eventually. But yes, jump in when you feel it's right to do. If this is your first time listening, watching, or joining us, the regular lineup is for the show. We do the Breaking Badly news, cover all the recent events around the crypto and Upland, the Metaverse and NFTs and all that. The Upland Development United Team meeting, we cover over what's going on with the team, what's happened last week, what's coming up this week, and any big events going on. And then, of course, the Upland Mash, where we do the giveaways and have special spotlights and such. And today we've got a special spotlight on MV Motors, thanks to the DAC man who's jumped in with us again. I'm going to race through the Breaking Badly news very quickly here. So the crypto markets, oh boy, what did I say, Cheese? In the Wine and Cheese show, I've been sitting on the sidelines for 3 years waiting to buy some crypto. I haven't bought any crypto for a while. And yeah, last week I started my automatic daily dollar cost averaging for a few little targets I had, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, Matic is your magic number right now. It's at 68 cents.
Oh, really?
You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong.
Well, I know you're not a financial advisor, so I'll take that with a grain of salt and do my own research. But I'm just sticking to 4 cryptos that I actually use. So I'm only playing with stuff and stacking bags of stuff that I actually use on a semi-regular basis, or that I'm gearing up to use. So yeah, I'm only going for actual functionality at this point in time. So yeah, the global crypto market is down from 1.44 trillion last week to 1.3 trillion this week, which I was surprised. I thought it'd be way lower than that. Bitcoin's dominance is currently up from 41.36% last week to 44.32% this week. So that's cool. But as far as that, if you look at the prices, yeah, everything's still in the red. Although considering the big bump down we talked about last week, it's not a huge change. Bitcoin last week was at 31,577, down to 30,000, about 200, something like that. Ethereum was at 2,300, down to 2,060. Wax was 15 cents, down to 12 cents. Engine was 87 cents, down to 72 cents. And Ripple was 52 cents, down to 43 cents. So, yeah. Anybody jump on the Luna train, trying to make some bank there? I see a whole people setting themselves up to just get absolutely wrecked. I know in some of the Australian crypto Facebook groups and that, some people are dropping like $1,000 and buying several million coins and saying, when this gets back to, even if it just gets back to $1, I'm going to be a millionaire. Yeah, that's not really how the supply and demand math works on that one, mate. But so there you go. I don't know. Did anybody take a nibble? I know Finn said he took a bit of a gamble. No.
That's it. No one. Come on, man. This is the opportunity. Your Prince loaded up on some wax. Wax is a really good price right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of my daily dollar cost averaging targets, and I'll ride that all the way to the bottom and all the way back again.
Same.
Stacking.
Option Guru added some HNT, BTC, and Sol.
Yep, that's another one. Sol, I'm doing, of course, Bitcoin. I did look at Engine, but I sold such a massive bag of Engine back in the day, and there's no way I'm going to be able to rebuild it to that. So that's one of the ones where I went, no, not at this stage. So we'll see. The Upland markets, thanks to Upland Marketplace Analytics, the 30-day transaction volume is down from 2.72 billion to 2.34 billion. Everything's down here. 90-day average transaction volume down from 111 million to 105 million UPEX. 90-day average daily trading volume is down from 8,900 to 8,400. And the daily number of swaps is steady in the 300 to 400 range. So although everything's going down, very clear that Upland is one of, if not the most stable NFT metaverse economy in the entire ecosystem at the moment, which is very good to see. And I'm hoping that at some stage that gets out there among the wider public and with news coverage and that, because I still haven't seen anything. Has anybody seen anything?
I think it will. I know No.50 posted something recently about some adverts in Queens. And I think during this Genesis week, they're going to start going forward with, this is speculation, of course, on my part, but I think they're going to go forward with advertising for the new cars and whatnot. And hopefully they mention STEM. That would be big.
See what happens. All right, as for actual city markets, thanks to upexland.me, San Francisco, there's actually a fair bit of green here, which is good to see. San Francisco, the USD price was $23 last week, a little bit of a bump up to $24 this week. The UPX price has gone down, though. It was 33.5K last week, down to 30K. Manhattan, that's taken a bump up for the USD price, was at $79 last week. Now it's in the 83 to 88 range. I think there's only one there at 83, and then it bumps up pretty quickly. The UPEX prices dropped, though. Was at 140K last week, down to 118K this week. Chicago was $4.80. That's risen to $5. But no, what am I looking at? Can't read my own writing. No, and the UPEX price was 7,200, up a tiny bit to 7,300. Although it's going to be interesting to see with these new properties that are getting released. What was it? 27,000 properties or something?
27,000.
It'll be interesting to see how that's going to impact on it all. So I guess we'll see that play out over the coming weeks. LA's down for the USD price, was $6 down to $5.30, but the UPEX price has gone up, was 7,400 up to, I think there's a couple there at 7,500, but then it quickly jumps to 7,700. And the Bronx, a little bit of a boost on the USD, was $9.70 up to $10, but it's dropped on the UPEX, was 13.7K. Now it's 12.5 to 13.2. So a bit of a mixed bag, really. It's a bit all over the place.
I think Bronx has been doing better than Brooklyn.
See,
that.
there we go.
Take that.
Take that. Interesting to note that LA is still stuck on 64% minted out, while Queens has jumped up another 2% from last week to 69% minted this week. Yes.
Yes.
So that's what's been happening in the markets. Anybody want to chime in? Anything to add there?
I'll gloat. My Bronx node is up to, I just got the new numbers from Steve, and my Bronx node is 86.62%
UDU ownership. Is that what you mean?
By us, by UDU. Yeah. And that doesn't count the new strangers that have been building on there. So that's like over 90% now.
Very cool. So what else has been happening? Normally we touch on Upland news and that sort of stuff here.
I have a lot of Upland news.
Do you want to dive into that now, or just a few bullet points?
I think let's dive into it.
Oh.
So I'm going to go with what's not expected first. So a lot of people have been worried about the first 50 tickets to Vegas, that they're not going to show up because they just bought them to kind of make money and this and that, or to grab them really quick or whatnot. So myself and a few others have bought it up, and Lizette actually said that they're looking into a way to offer an upgrade to a GA ticket holder if early birds don't show up. Mm. So that's something good if you don't have an early bird ticket and and you're going to be attending, there is a chance for that. That's one story. And now Meta Ventures are leveling up, which is awesome, because now I know I talked to Goldsmith a lot, and the interaction he used to have with players, you had to always do a swap for a legit, and all his those run out, and then you don't want to give away your legits, you want to sell them. So now you have to be in the city, and you have to send to the property, and you go there and you put the block explorer or legit, depending on what you want to sell, to sell. Now basically what happens is you put the number, you're able to see what percentage they take out, which is anywhere from 2 to 10%. Once you put the price in, it won't go through until you submit it. So that'll tell you how much the percentage is. After you do that, the store owner then has to approve it. So if you're putting something in for a crazy price, there's a chance that it won't get approved. So I'm sure that market is going to stabilize a lot more than it was, because I've seen some crazy prices for block explorers, and I just don't see that, really happening. Also, they upped the current 10K USD cap to 100,000, and Ben tested that one out.
Yeah, I put my Wall Street collection for 100 grand each.
That's pretty cool. Let's see if somebody bites on that.
Yeah. Someone said, "Oh, well, that's not really worth it because it doesn't have a structure on it." And I said, "Well, I can't put a structure on it because I'd have to price it at 120. Oh no, what was it? $100,020 or something. I forget what I said, but yeah.
I think
that's good to see anyway.
20,000. Yeah, 1,020,000.
Yeah.
Also, if I don't know if you noticed, but if you go to the top left and click on your profile to bring it up, you can now add Fiat to your total. So let's say you made a sale for $150. Somebody bought a property from you, and Spark Week is coming up, and you want to buy some Spark, and you're like, oh, I only have $150 and I don't want to spend the whole $400. Well, now you don't. You could put in the difference to whatever. Good. Yeah, right. So now you can add to that and purchase it with your in-game fight, which is freaking amazing. Last but not least, tomorrow, Chicago Hidden Gems. Now, I didn't know. Did you know that there were still unminted properties in Chicago? Like I for sure didn't think it was 27,000.
No, that's a huge number. But there's been people like Atomic Pop who've been saying, well, when are you going to release all of these locked properties? So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Chicago, if you look around the map in San Francisco, there's probably thousands there as well. They're mostly in San Francisco, and that they're mostly the ones that are just absolutely ginormous. Like there's that big one in Midtown Terrace.
Yeah.
And Coop saying in chat that the lock ones don't even show right now, so they're just blanks on the map. Yeah, so that's a good point too. So I imagine teams like Portage Park will be all over that, trying to fill in some gaps.
Oh,
they may even be able to get some full blocks, Coop, not these bloody half blocks. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it starts May 18th at 9 a.m. PT. Players who participate by minting, sending, or trading in Chicago have the opportunity to win 0.03 Spark and 10,000 UPIX by completing those activities in Chicago. They also put a list, like a spreadsheet of all the properties that will be available.
Absolutely. Now we got to put a pin in one of those things for the wine of the week, so remind me later. Yeah, that list is very useful. There's only one target in all of Chicago that I have any interest in, and I need to, because I started scrolling on my phone through that sheet, but 27,000 properties is a bit too much for a phone to handle. So I have to do a bit of a find in the Excel sheet myself to see if it's in there. If the target I want's not in there, I'm not even going to bother.
Now, there's going to be a lot of collection ones.
Yes.
And people are speculating like Greek Town, which is the hardest collection to get, I believe, in the game.
Yes, and it's going to be interesting to see because the Greek Town build stats are quite high at the moment as far as percentage completed, but depending on the supply that gets added in, that's going to drop them down significantly, I would imagine. So shall be interesting.
Well, and like just FYI, don't expect these to be usual mint prices. They're going to be repriced according to market prices, meaning their mint values and earnings will be higher. And they do have the prices in the spreadsheet. So make sure like you could plan for it accordingly and whatnot.
Now, did you see in the UCN channel that there's a bit of a kerfuffle going on in regards to that at the moment?
Oh, really? I did not. Explain.
It may be a case where the team didn't price these with the collection multipliers added on. So you know how there's a vanilla price, pre-collection reveal price, and then like for rares and ultra rares and that, it can go up to 21x the mint price. Yeah, it seems like that hasn't been factored in yet. So it's
oh, really?
Yeah, it's not actually a representation of the price. So don't be surprised if you see an update to that, the pricing in that sheet come through, you know, sometime ASAP, I would imagine, if that is indeed the case, but still not sure. Last time I checked, they were still looking into it. So we shall see. 30 Greek Town props. Space
they won't
Wrangler
be
Joe
cheap.
said.
They won't be cheap. I can imagine maybe 400 to 500K for the cheapest.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Anybody else got some targets going all out in Chicago for something?
I would like one more Chinatown because I have 3 out of 4.
That's annoying. Anybody else? No? Nub's got a good target, keeping his lips sealed.
Well, all right. Radish
Dax
needs 2
saving
more for the
racing.
loops.
2 more loops. Oh, they're going to be hotly contested. Big portage props. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. And it's good that they do that, I think, because a lot of the new players that have come in, you know, since Chicago was sold out, they're going to be able to grab a piece of the pie. So that's cool. Yeah, it's like Malik's just said, they're saving money for next month. It's very timely that this big influx of properties and the big massive carrot is there. Is it deliberate? Is it deliberately there to drain everybody's Apex before they have to buy in again? If it is, it's a brilliant business decision.
You're right. So they want Genesis Week to go smoothly. So what better way to do that is to have you guys spend all your money and not go crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
That's awesome. Hey, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I like it. Yes. So yeah, that's basically it for right now, unless somebody had something to add. Anybody at all? Come on in.
We're not that scary, are we? Apparently we are. All good. So yeah, we'll just blitz on over to some MBE news and updates. Have you seen the new UDU and MBE spin-off series, Meet Pseudoverse Doses of Reality? We're still working through the content already produced by Arthur, aka D-Tech, but you'll see that I put up a fresh one recently about a reality of in real life home ownership. If you yourself have something in mind for your own dose of reality and you want to get involved, hit me up and we'll see what we can do.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
And before we kicked off, Joe and Cheese were spitballing some ideas for the Vegas meetup. So that will be cool.
We could do a Vegas reality.
Yes. Wine and Cheese update. Last week we had Goldie on, the goldsmith, which was very cool.
Yes, he was fun. It was like a conversation.
Where'd you go?
And a lot of passionate back and forth.
Outdoor decor sucks. Removing a tree is not a fun dose of reality. Oh gosh, Dak, I've got some stories about that. Luckily, I got it. It happens all the time. Like I'll be in a funk from work and I'll say, "Sorry, Cheese, I'm going outside with the chainsaw. It's chainsaw time." How many times have I said that to you?
I'm going down to go cut things again.
Yes. I just lost my train of thought there. Oh, and we have been talking the last couple of Wine and Cheese episodes where the Mercedes Formula One team was offering up some very awesome NFTs where you could actually win a special NFT plus the rear wings, the actual rear wings of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell's cars that as they were raced in Miami. We were supposed to follow up that at the end of the Goldsmith interview. Completely forgot about it because we were so engrossed in our chat, but I did go and check out those before. Both of those rear wings and the associated NFTs sold for 55 Ethereum each, which at today's prices, a bit over $110,000, which is in the price range I was expecting. So that was cool.
That's crazy.
The full replica Formula One car is still currently available. There's 3 more days left on that, and that price is currently at 35 Ethereum. So if you got a big bag of Ethereum burning a hole in your pocket and you want a Formula One car and an NFT, go on and check.
Oh, that's going to go well over 100K. 100.
You reckon?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Easy.
We'll be able to follow that up on this coming week's Wine and Cheese show. So that'll be cool. And don't forget that if you want a free weekly custom episode themed Morecheese NFT, all you have to do is watch the show and follow the very easy prompts and you can start stacking a bag of Morecheese NFTs. If you haven't already seen, get on over to Twitter and check out the one she did of Dirk. Just absolutely incredible stuff, Cheese.
Thank you.
So yes, very cool. All right, UDU team meeting stuff. Wine of the week. Radished just mentioned this before. Yes, and Cheese mentioned it as well. The bloody decimal point intern strikes yet again. I mean,
he
how
always
many
does that.
times can they balls this up? It's almost deliberate at this point, isn't it? It's like what I do with my kindergarten kids. I deliberately make mistakes just to see if they're listening.
Maybe they do it on purpose, like switch and bait sort of thing. Sorry, we made a mistake. And the more people go because they think it's going to be 0.3 and then it's 0.03. And then what can you really do?
Yeah.
And you're there already. You might as well go mince some Chicago.
Kind of incredible that it just keeps happening and happening. Whoever's in charge of those really does need a firm talking to, I believe. At the very least. Yes. Now, wins of the week. Geez, you got a win of the week. I've been so busy this week. I haven't really had
like doing that Dirk pixel art was pretty win for me. I did it and I started it 2 nights ago and I finished it last night. So it was the fastest art I've done. And then Goldsmith was like, you should make it wink and maybe a few hairs blowing in the wind. So it's like, damn you, that's a good idea. So I had to go back and gimp it a bit and add some layers. And I actually live art streamed it, and Zoe was watching me, and I even showed her the process of the layering in GIMP, which was cool. She was excited about that. And Dirk, he liked it. Upland liked it. But Upland, you didn't retweet it. Just like FYI, maybe. Just retweet it.
Yeah. Throw the cheese a bone. Come on. You can do
Throw
it.
the cheese a bone.
And yeah, and if there's still any misconceptions about how Cheese makes these, she's not using a program that just pixelates them. She's doing it pixel by pixel. So yeah, jump on over to the MBE server and you can check her out live as she works. All right, UDU nodes around the grounds. Cheese, you've already given us the lowdown on what's happening on the Bronx, Dale.
Yes, and new buildings are coming up all the time. Someone in here just said that some things, one of theirs is popping up today.
Cool.
There's always some that are popping up every so often. I'm on Umang's townhouse. He should be done in 2 days. And then I think I see one of Nub's that is almost done. So I'll either go on that or I think Finsky's is almost done too. I'll always look to see like who has the most of their spark in there, and I'll just put every single bit of my spark in there to help you.
Nice.
And thank you to everybody who has been doing that as well in the Bronx node. I appreciate you. I am going to do something special for my node in the form of an NFT once everything is all set up and for the most part, not completely set up. And love you guys. Appreciate you.
Very cool. Yes, and I managed to get finished up in the Bronx and zapped back over to MTU and started stacking on some random builds again. And that kind of inspired me to come up with a little bit of a brain fart. But first things first, MTU progress stats. Last week we're at 46.9% built. This week we're up to 47.5%, which is quite a bit of a bump. My UCC contract, we're currently on build 122 of 190. And if you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, didn't you say that you were just on build 100 last week? You're right. So I had a look at that stat, 47.5% build up. And I was like, I'd really like to get to that 50% ASAP because that was kind of a stretch goal from way back when. So I hit the UCC up, and like I talked about with the ad at the start of the show, because the UCC, you're dealing with people, you can work in a very customized fashion, which is what I love about the UCC. So I hit the team up and I was like, I got this idea. What would we have to do within my contract to just like blitz out 20 buildings? And they had a look through the contract and my payments and all of that, and they came back with a figure. I slung them off the UPEX for it, which kind of my little nest egg I've been saving took a bit of a hit, but it's for a good cause. And yeah, I set them the gauntlet and they're going full speed ahead with about 20 builds. So yeah, if you're over in the UCC and you're one of the stakers there, you'll be seeing plenty of Midtown Terrace builds jumping into the queue. Dak, did you want to speak to that? I know you said you weren't really aware of what was going on there, but yeah, I put the gauntlet down. I've said go as hard and as fast as you can for 20 builds. Let's see what the UCC can actually do here.
Yeah, I had an idea, and then I just checked with the team just to make sure I didn't get caught with my pants down kind of thing. And Yeah, no, 20 builds, piece of cake.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll see how fast they
Option
can get
Guru's got you covered. And yeah, the ASPQ and all the ASP builders, Spark contractors that we have in UCC will have lots of work. And it's good UPEX for the ASP Spark contractors. So thank you.
Nice. Now, we did have a question was asked through the week. I think it was it in the UDU chat or somebody asked, it might have been DTech. Somebody asked him, is UDU associated with the UCC? And I'll just clarify that again. There's no direct association between the UDU and the UCC. Of course, there is a very strong friendship and whatever you want to call it. But all of the stuff that's getting done with the UCC is via my portfolio. So it's more like, if anything, there's an association with Ben 68 and the UCC. But of course, you know, I'm part of UDU. I'm building UDU Node, so it's kind of loosely associated. But there's no, I don't know what the insinuation was.
And what's funny is I don't think people, I don't know if they've gone back and listened to some of the old sessions that you did where, you know, this was always very specific, Ben.
Yeah.
And you started with just 2 to test us, and then you locked in the big contract, which was our first big contract, and you've continued to be a supporter. And so it's been great. And yes, and it was always MTU, and it was really Ben's properties in MTU that we were building out. And so thank you.
Yeah, there's no wild conspiracy at play here. Who's got time to set that up? Gosh. But yeah, so if you don't know, I'm on my 3rd contract with the UCC, and Dak and the team did send me through some extra very cool looking NFTs to celebrate a few different milestones. Now let's see if I can pull those up without my donkey crashing. So you got that there? No, this one's on mute. So we've got MTU Node Stage 2 complete. So this was to celebrate the completion of the 2nd contract.
Which was like back in December or something like that.
It was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's been moving pretty fast forward since. And this one that just came through. So you're on the ball with this one, celebrating 100 builds.
100th build.
Yes.
And these are NFTs that have been done by Sybaris. And we kind of have this UCC template that we use that Sybaris built for us. And we've used these in multiple different types of builds. And Ben, you know, we keep saying, okay, who's going to be the 100th ASP build? Or who's going to be the so-and-so? And it's usually Ben. So Ben, I think, has like 8 of the ones we've done.
Well done, Ben. Well done.
Well, like I said, I do love the UCC, and I specifically love it because there's that person-to-person association. Obviously, there are benefits to a purely automated, botted kind of system or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I much prefer the kind of back and forwards because, as Cheese and everybody in the UDU team can attest to, I often have these little brain farts. And I said to the UCC team yesterday when we were in discussions, I was like, quick, get this deal done. You need to get this UPEX out of my hands before I change my mind. And Mass got back, you can't change your mind. We've already put it in the queue. That's pretty funny.
Well, and that's one of the key differences. I think that the exchanges have their places, and they're great for people who want to do, who already have partial builds and they decided to get it finished and so forth, or day traders, you know, who are just going in and bouncing from build to build, trying to get the maximum UPEX they can. It's great for them. But if you have a construction project, or if you just want consistency and not have to worry about hassles, whether you're a Spark contractor or a property owner, that's what, you know, we do contracted management, you know, building management versus an exchange. It's a very different model.
Absolutely. I think, geez, we're going to have to raise the sponsor fee there. It's quite a plug this week.
Calculating it.
All right. Last week, just in wrapping up, last week we did say that UDU membership vetting had kicked off again, and Finn was back from holidays and he went gangbusters last night actually and ripped through a bunch of the vetting procedures. And we onboarded 2 new members this morning when I was up way too earlier than I should have been. So
yes, you were.
So we've got a couple of new members have already jumped in, and there's a few more there just waiting to go through the process of onboarding. So cheers to that and welcome aboard. I don't know, anything you want to chime in for that, Cheese, before we wrap up the UDU stuff?
Nope. Nothing I can think of right now.
All right, and now what everyone's always interested to hear is the Upland Mash segment, where we give away all the stuff and whatnot. Last week, and we have a weekly challenge. Last week, we continued over from the week before. The challenge was to tag Morecheese and myself with feedback in the general chat in the MBE server on how it could be better set up and improved. And the prize was going to be the most useful and constructive feedback. Was going to win a showcase as the very first Legends of MBE NFT series, where you'd work with me to design the NFT about or for yourself, and Cheese would mint those via her setup, her whitelisted setup, and we'd go from there. Now, we did get some
we had a lot of great
feedback.
Oh yes, thank you again for this. And there's a few things that I even kind of am working on the back end from that. Just have to talk more with Ben, but a lot of it made sense. Yep. Sometimes you just need an outside eye to kind of like look at this. And thank you for being honest. We can take it, and it was needed. And yeah, you want to tell the two that we chose?
Yeah, well, we had such good feedback from Moon Unit and Zoe that we couldn't really separate the two. So we decided that we'll give them both their very own unique Legends of NFT, Legends of MBE NFT series. So yeah,
Yay.
In the coming weeks, I'll get in contact with you and we'll work through that. Now, we were going to run the prize wheel to see 3 runner-ups, people that offered feedback, and they were going to get some of those mints when they come aboard. But we had only had 3, so we'll just give that to them straight away. So Option Guru, I'm going to screw this pronunciation up, but Michelton and CPTO JR Crypto Gerbers or something. Thank you very much for the feedback you offered as well. So yeah, no weekly challenge wheel this week because we got it all sorted out. So
we got it all sorted.
Keep your peepers out for that. Now, the challenge for this week, competition weekly challenge for this week is get yourself on over and established in the URL server, the Upland Racing League server, and tag Dak. Well, we didn't even clear this with Dak, did we?
No, we didn't. He's okay with it.
This is the challenge, Dak. So, yeah, get on over there, and in the URL server's general chat, tag Dak, Morecheese, and Ben68, and let us know what you're most looking forward to about MVE motors and racing. That's a challenge. The prize. Now, when was it? Last week or the week before, Finn won the Chicago property. He donated that back to the podcast to give away again. So for this week's challenge, you can, if you do that, if you follow those steps, you can choose. You can either win that Chicago property or you can choose to take 10,000 UpX. Up to you. So yeah, link to the URL server will be in the description if you don't know where that is. And of course, if you're already over there, just a very quick clickety-clack and you'll be set up and going. Now, normally this is where we talk about all the Upland news, what has been happening in Upland, but what hasn't been happening in Upland. But we kind of covered that already, and it's given us heaps and heaps of time left in the show to touch on something very, very cool that's all come about in the last week and a half or something like that. For MV Motors. Now, how many bloody iterations of the name have we had? It was Meta Motors, then it was M Motors, and now it's MV Motors. What's that all about? Anybody know? Yeah. Lawyers lawyering, is it?
Maybe.
So
lawyer's gonna lawyer.
Yeah, so special spotlight on what is now called MV Motors. Just first up, I just want to say, I mean, we're in a bit of a Dak love fest in this show. I don't know what's going on, but when Dak first came out with the idea of the URL server, I think it was in DM. I was like, mate, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself here. This is all speculation, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of, because I have a good relationship with Dak, I kind of poo-pooed on the idea, but fair credit to him. Yeah, he's just gone gangbusters as far as forward thinking and planning ahead and being super proactive in getting things set up and running. I don't know. Did you want to speak to that, Dak? And like you dropped some information earlier on about a new system that's happening. Did you want to outline all of that now and how you went about with securing? Was it Jeremy? Was that it from the team?
Yeah, Jeremy, the head of product for racing.
So give us the lowdown, mate. What's
sure. Well, you're right. You and Ben, you were not the only one to come to me when I invited people. Originally, the idea came up. Believe it or not, Malice Guy was actually kind of the impetus for creating URL. And I don't think many people know this story, but I was talking to her about just construction and UCC and, you know, how we might get into manufacturing vehicles and everything. And she got very excited. And she was telling me about how she's really kind of set up, you know, and that she really wants to invest in racing and everything, and that, you know, how much she had put aside for it and all that. And I was like, holy cow, people are real serious about racing. And then, you know, when I was in the Upland Cafe, I was talking to like different folks like Elijah from the real LA Node. And I was talking to JR Wheels, who wanted to do something with French Road in Detroit. And I started to kind of say, okay, it's either I move now or I watch other people do it for me. And, you know, I like to always be moving forward instead of chasing. And so I decided, let's just start it, even if it's early. There's enough information that we can do some speculation around how it's going to work. We can put together some very basic kind of business concepts around it. In real world, that's kind of what I do. You know, I'm a sales guy. I'm a products person where I package products and offerings. I create playbooks for sales and so forth. And so I decided, you know, let's kind of take a look at what could the future of racing be. And that's where kind of the difference between speculation and guessing, right? You take the futurist and did I break up? Okay. You take the future and then you kind of work backwards and you put all the steps in between. So, so that's how URL kind of came into being. One, I've reached out to a lot of different people trying to get the server going and so forth. We had some early adopters who were like, I call them bleeding edge entrepreneurs. They saw the business models and they were ready to just jump in and go for it, whether they were right or wrong. And it's kind of like, Ben, I think of your story with MetaVentures, you know, back when it was beta business or whatever it was back in the day, and you took a chance and it could bite, you know, it could work out or it can bite you in the butt kind of thing. And so we kind of went forward. As part of reaching out to different folks, I reached out to SecNet. And some of the folks might know SecNet as kind of like he's a community developer manager. So he's the one that's put together the Upland Development Network, and kind of he's promoting the whole hackathon that they're doing and everything. And so I had been talking to him about what we were doing with UCC and getting into the developer network and so forth. And I sent him information about URL. And he brings in Jeremy into a chat with me. He's like, hey, Dak, I want to introduce you to Jeremy. He's head of racing. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, hi, Jeremy. Would you want to talk? Would you want to join URL? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And for those that were on the town hall meeting with Jeremy, he is very approachable. He's a really nice guy. He's really smart. He really does know what he's doing. And he's a really good product manager. He wanted to get the voice of the customer. It's, you know, it's something that's really important, and being able to understand and guide the roadmap of any product offering. And so one of the benefits that I kind of promoted to Jeremy about doing the session in URL versus anywhere else was that these were early adopters who were investing and were entrepreneurs in this model, in this new play to earn model. And they were content creators, which Upland keeps talking about wanting and so forth, right? And so Jeremy just kind of started as a perfect fit for him to understand what the market is expecting from Upland in terms of racing, to kind of provide some information versus speculation, because people were coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas, and eventually that would also create problems for Upland. And he just was, happy to kind of engage, and that's how he ended up coming onto the show. It was just introductions and networking.
That's very cool. Now I'll just interject to say too, the key phrase for the big 1 million UpX wheel is Jeremy spoke in class today. Jeremy spoke in class today. So stick that in your brain bank. Yeah, and as I just said in chat, feel free if you have any information to add or questions for Dak about what went down, jump on in and ask. So I don't know probably a lot of the information that you got in there, I assume, Dak, was stuff that you had already kind of speculated or were thinking about. Was there anything in that chat that kind of blew you away?
Yeah, and one of the things I've said very often is I did not speak to Jeremy about any functionality prior to the town hall. Everything was new to me as it was to everyone else, which was great because it was nice to get surprised. There were a couple of big things. One, I was blown away when he said registration for vehicle purchases is going to be June 8th, and you'll be able to buy June 9th during Genesis Week. I think everyone was like, what? So soon? I don't think anyone expected cars in Genesis. I think they were thinking September, October kind of time frame. Then he said, not only will you be able to buy the car, you'll be able to get in it and race it. Wow. And I was like, wait, they already have the functionality that far developed. Now, true, you can't race it against other players. You can't really do much else. And it's a pre-created Upland track with perfect weather and all that. And so it's very vanilla. But just the idea that you can pick a BE, pick an NFT, go into the track and race is pretty amazing in terms of the implications of what that means for the metaverse.
Just going back to the sale, like we know we have to register. Is this going to play out like the Spark sale, where you're going to be put in a queue and you're going to have to sit there sweating, watching the numbers slowly disappear? Or how do you think that's going to play out?
So one of the things that he mentioned during the town hall was that MV Motors will be producing vehicles, and it does take Spark to produce the vehicles, and they'll be producing the vehicles. And what's kind of cool is it sounds like they're going to be actually putting them on the lot across the street from MV Motors. So I think a lot of people are going to be visiting Santa Clara and kind of doing a drive-by to look at the cars in the lot kind of thing, right? And so there's going to be a certain number of vehicles that are going to be produced, and those are the ones that are going to be sold. And so the expectation is that demand for cars is going to be much greater than the production that they're able to roll out off the assembly line before sale. Yeah. So yes, it does seem like people will be put into a raffle. You'll be given a random number, and then hopefully you get a chance to buy a car.
So we know that Spark's going to essentially construct the vehicles. Is this our Spark? We're going to be constructing them with our Spark?
There is no definition of that. I do believe MV Motors has their own Spark pool. I think someone said they have 65 Spark, but I'm not sure about that number. Yeah,
I'm not kind of clear on, are we buying a finished product that's ready to go, or are we buying a shell that we then have to build with Spark?
No, you're buying a car, and
finished,
and they're going to be rolling out 6 different models, from your sedan, your coupe, to your semi truck.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because I was envisioning a situation where somebody might want to buy whatever the best car is, and they register for it, but they didn't have the Spark to actually produce it. But that seems like
no. This is no. You're buying an NFT.
Yeah.
So think of it like the ornaments or anything like that, where it's already produced and you buy it, it gets added to your wallet, and now you have it available.
It's good to go. And there's no clues given in regards to pricing. Do you have any intuitions yourself about that?
So no clues in terms of pricing. It does seem like, and one of the things that's made very clear is that everything is subject to change. right? And so not putting anyone on the spot and saying, you said it was going to be this, this, and this, right? So none of that. But we do know that it's going to be an UPX purchase. So that's great. So you don't have to worry about putting USD in to buy cars and so forth. There is no information on pricing at this point. Jeremy would not provide that at that point. He just couldn't give it to us. And we were like, okay, that's fine. But speculation in the market and URL and talking to like some of the different folks who are looking to buy race cars and semi trucks and so forth. We believe that I've seen a semi truck probably between 250,000 and 500,000 UPX. And so a sedan might be something like 30,000 UPX. You know, something like that, you know, like
That's
your
cheap.
local commuter.
That's cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we don't
cheap.
think that, well, because think about the idea is people, for the most part, are going to need some sort of transportation model. So your day-to-day commuter is going to have to be available and readily accessible to other people. I don't know if they're going, you know, they did mention, I believe he mentioned that there would be other types of transportation also. So like motorcycles or something like that. So we don't know what the 6 vehicles are going to be. And that's why I don't say cars, I say vehicles, because we don't know what all 6 different models are going to be yet.
Yeah, and your Prince has just said in the chat, and I just had that thought too, just before I read your comment, mate. He said it sounds cheap, but relative to properties, perhaps expensive. I think it's actually pretty close. Like if you think of an entry level property in Upland is what, 3 to 5K? 3 to 5K, 3 to 5,000 UPX. So if you're thinking, oh no, that doesn't work out at all, really. That's the opposite of what I was thinking. Yeah. So if a house costs you
pretty expensive,
if a house costs you 5,000, but your car costs you 50,000, that's a bit
right.
weird.
It is expensive, and so when you think of it in terms of like people are just used to the idea of paying 200,000. You know, you see properties going up for sale for 2 million UPX and so forth, and you know, you're like, oh, 30,000 is nothing. But for new players, for uplanders who are getting in and they're still trying to get to that 100,000 mark and everything, you know, 30,000 is a lot. That's 30% of their net worth.
Yeah. For me personally, I'm trying to save up some additional funds. I'd like to get to 1.5 million there, and I'm hoping that from that budget I can pick up a truck and a race car. The race car, for obvious reasons, I want to race and do all that stuff, but the truck as a bit of a hedge for what's to come with, you know, transportation of decor items and that. Do you want to speak to that process as we know?
Yeah, so Jeremy did mention that transportation will be, it's not in the initial release or anything like that. Remember this, they're releasing minimum viable product for Genesis week, right? And so it's going to be very vanilla, not a lot of different functionality, but they're going to start rolling out more and more functionality throughout the year. And transportation is going to be a thing. Because there is going to be an odometer on your car. And so there's going to be wear and tear. And so let's say your 750,000 UPX racer is not the one you want to just drive from one city to another city. So you're going to want to transport your racer from one city to another city in the semi trucks. And yes, you will be able to do that. And if you can transport the NFT that is a vehicle, then chances are you will also be able to transport the NFT that is outdoor decor or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I know back in the day when my race car, as much as I would have loved to drive that down the street, you can't drive race cars down the street. You're going to get in big trouble. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think
Upland might be a little more laxed.
Yeah. But it makes sense. I mean, imagine you signed up for a race and you were going to transport yourself there, but then, you know, we know that damage is going to be a thing. We know that wear and tear is going to be a thing eventually. You get to the track and your car's 3/4 dead and you got to go back and get it fixed. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. If you're going to be serious about racing, yeah, you might want to start thinking about picking yourself up a truck or something as well, if it's within your means. But then there's going to be other services like what you're suggesting.
Yeah, and your prince kind of mentioned that it's a metaverse and, we should do away with the pain points. But one of the things that I think people are very excited about is the idea of operational logistics and all of the business models that end up coming and becoming available because of these things. So now transportation becomes a business model. The trims and being able to set up a car with different trims becomes a business model. Advertising, sponsoring, vendors, promoters, Radish Head, YK 2012, and a couple of others are promoters in URL because that they can talk about it, and so they have the opportunities to do things like that. So there's a lot of niche markets that you can get into because of the fact that you have some of these real world issues that have to be mitigated inside the metaverse.
Absolutely. Now, I can speak as far as the outdoor decor side of things and transport goes, because this has been a conversation, or it's been part of the conversation from way back when. So we're fairly certain, as it's been communicated to us, that again, at first release, outdoor decor is going to be, you buy the piece, it's going to be in your inventory, you can just plonk it down and move it around wherever on your property. But that's going to eventually change where you may need to come to San Francisco to buy one of my outdoor decor pieces that are going to be on display on one of my properties, which is why all of this stuff with nodes and everything started off, because I wanted as many properties as I could to display inventory. Now, you might pick it up off the showroom or whatever, but eventually that outdoor decor piece is going to have to be transported to your city of choice or your area. So yeah, there's a lot of peripheral businesses that are going to be associated with all this.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that's really important. Upland, from when I first got into it, they've always talked about having a community-led economic model instead of being funded by Upland, right? So right now, most of the economic engine of Upland is through the monthly earnings of properties or the flipping of properties. So it's very limited in its functionality in terms of creating a true macroeconomic model. By being able to kind of create these functional elements that then have kind of subsidiary or connected functionality, you really do start creating niche markets, and those niche markets start, moving UpX around and bringing more UpX into Upland. I mean, UCC, we created a niche market for construction, and, through some of our services, we did 1.7 million in gas fees for a service or offering that was not even sold in Upland. So, we generated 1.7 million in gas fees, UpX, that went into the community pool for a product or offering or a service that's not even inside of Upland.
Yeah.
And that's what, doing a true community driven economic model can do, is you can actually bring in UpX from the outside that's not within the game and create more dynamic models that way.
Maybe that's a good segue over to racing. Like I know within Midtown Terrace, we're going to offer, we will have in-house races where it's UDU team members only, but we will be inviting, members of the public to join in for some big events. And, we are always interested about going big. We're not shy to give away prizes and that sort of thing, as a classic example with the 1 million that we're willing to give away here. Maybe I'll bring that up, and that can help as a kind of talking point for you to speak about what you envision as far as racing and that goes. Now, I put this tweet out, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago about, have you got that up there? So this is the MTU 100, and I think Dak and Cheese are both giggling because they know what we call it on the back end. But yeah, so this is a real world map of Midtown Terrace, and we've put the track in there, which we're going to refer to as the MTU 100. So it's going to be, I think it's about a 3 kilometer track, which is, 1.8 miles, that says. So I'm all about open wheel races, and Formula One races usually go for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of distance. So I did the math on that, and it works out to about 100 laps around here. So we'll see. We may do shorter sprint races and whatnot, but that'll be our big. That's kind of like going to be our Indy 500 sort of thing. That's going to be the showcase event. Unfortunately, because the way the road system works out, there was no option to extend over into the residential area to the right of Midtown Terrace. But I guess that makes sense. You don't want too many race cars burning around in the residential area. So yeah, it's kind of restricted to this. And as part of it, we do have a straightaway where we may run drag races and whatnot. So I don't know, Dak, can you use this as an example to speak about what you're envisioning or what you're seeing with other teams as they're gearing up for racing?
Yeah, so one of the things that happened with more and more exposure coming to URL, we've been getting a flood of individuals, and a lot of people like to design racetracks, but actually managing and running a racetrack is very different from just designing a racetrack. So we've put the submissions for racetracks on hold as we kind of come up with some regulations and kind of how to create a track that's viable and will survive kind of thing, right? A couple of things that we, being player created racetracks will not be a thing for some time, right? So we know that it's not going to be something that we're going to start doing in June. We're hoping that we can start having player created tracks sometime in, let's say, October, November, December. If we can get it started this year, that would be amazing. With what I'll say. The way that Jeremy kind of talked about it, one of the things that he kind of mentioned that I thought was kind of cool is, yes, players will be able to create overlays. An overlay is going to be the racetrack that then is sucked into Unity, and because all of the actual racing and the presentation of the race is going to be on the Unity platform. And what we are going to end up doing is, so if you take your kind of track that you have, all of the properties that are right on the track, pretty much what you would have to do is select all of the properties as part of creating this overlay concept, and they become kind of what we're dubbing a race node. That race node is then submitted as the track overlay into Unity. And what's cool about it is that you can make the track overlay private, you can make it public, you can have it repeatable. You can do one-offs for like the street racing kind of model. Just pick a street, say, let's go, and drop it into Unity, right? So people can do quick races that they want. But for individuals who are doing motorsports, and like URL, where we want tracks that we're going to be running lots of different races through and so forth, we want them to be permanent, we want them to be public, and we want to be able to kind of advertise them and so forth. And so, yeah, so being able to take a race like this, all of the properties that are right on the track, selecting those as part of the race node, and then using that to create the overlay, that's what you're going to see in Unity. When they show the video of you driving, of them driving down the street in San Francisco, and you see all of the buildings and everything, that's why they need the property selected, so that they then know what is going to be the Upland equivalent of that racetrack in Unity.
So is that, hopefully that's going to be like some kind of functionality where it's just you click on it to highlight the properties. If it's a manual patch in process, that's going to be a major pain in the butt. And
I'll tell you right now, there'll be people who will do it because they really want it that bad.
Yeah. Well, but I know just putting this map together was a pain.
I think that it's going to be really kind of cool. Jeremy didn't really have a sense of how it was going to be done. He just kind of said that it could be something like this, with the idea of selecting the properties and so forth. Maybe there'll be a secondary tool that they develop for being able to trace the track in Upland, and then that creates it or something. I don't know what they're going to do, and Jeremy wasn't really exactly sure because, as I said, the player tracks are not going to be what's available in the near future.
And it's going to be clunky, it's going to be glitchy, it's going to be buggy, it's going to be simple, but that's all part of the process. The important thing is that people see where this is headed.
Correct. And it is definite, and a lot of the speculation that we were doing in URL, Jeremy was able to confirm that there is going to be some variation of what we were speculating, which got a lot of the race commissioners and a lot of the folks who were in URL very excited.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I've been flapping on long enough. Does anybody have some questions for Dak about MV Motors?
Well, you had mentioned like to let new people in who want to run a track, that there are going to be some parameters or like, what can you like name a few of the more important ones?
Yeah, because talk is cheap.
Exactly. And you know, like I said, everyone wants to go and design a track and it's a lot of fun and everything, but to actually run a racing business, you do need to have a lot of elements that are viable and so forth. And so I have a ranking board. The ranking board is a group of individuals who were early adopters of URL, who have their own kind of races or racing teams, and the league commissioners that are involved. And we started talking through some of the regulations that we would need just based on what we've been prepping ourselves for a viable track, right? And so a couple of things that you need is you need to be able to have a track that's laid out and have a decent group of ownership in that track, right? So you can't just say that I have one property on this street and I'm claiming this whole city kind of thing, because there's no commitment from everyone else on that track. And also there's just not enough. Then how are you going to make that business viable with your organizing 12 to 18 drivers, doing multiple races during a month or a season? How are you going to do sponsorships and ads? How are you going to do price purses? How are you going to do entry fees? How are you going to do qualifiers? And so there's a lot of those elements that kind of need to be there. The other part of it is that we do want it to be very community driven. And so we do want to see that people are kind of engaged in the track. And a great indicator of that engagement is like what we have in French Road with JR Wheels and what he's been able to do. He's done a lot of giveaways. He's gotten a lot of people engaged. French Road was pretty much unminted when he started. It's now minted out, and he had like 12 buildings done in like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, people jumped on it and they built up really fast, and there was a lot of excitement around getting that done. And so we want to see some structures on the properties. We want to see that the properties, are engaged, because we might be able to use them for spectators in the future, right? One of the things that Jeremy talked about was outdoor decor and being able to put that on a property. So like a bleacher, or maybe a rocking chair, or whatever it is, right? But being able to do something where you can have spectators sitting on properties viewing, and you would need structures. You also will need structures or something for the transportation. We talked about the logistics, right? So do you have a pit row? Do you have transportation parking? Do you have racer hoteling, right? Do you have apartments or town halls or places for your racers to stay during race week or whatever it is, right? And so there's a lot of actual elements and logistics that you need to think about when you say, I want to build this racetrack.
That's so exciting, man. Just listening to everything, it gets me going a bit. And I remember you came to me months back and were like, geez, you want to do this? And now the first thing that goes through my head is, how much work will this be? How much time will I have to spend on it? And can I do it? And a lot of people just be like, oh, racing, I'm in, And I was just like, I know Dak is very, he wants to get things done. He'll get them done. And do I have that much time for him? And at the time I didn't, because like my Bronx Day was just starting. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this now. So I said, let me wait until I get things established in Bronxdale and whatnot. So I love that you are outlining stuff that needs to be considered before people get into this, because like you said, you can't just say, I have one property, let's race.
Yeah.
Any kind of vetting you can do is, of course, beneficial for you guys setting it all up, but it's also beneficial to give people a bit of a gentle reality check as well, because it's very easy to come up with ideas, but you cannot underestimate the time that it takes to do all these things. And
same thing for racing teams, right? Yep. We did some back of the napkin math on how much would it cost a racing team to sponsor one driver for one season. It was about 650,000 UPICs. So if you think about a team that has 10 drivers, if they're laying out all the costs, that's 6.5 million UPEX.
Yep.
That's not cheap.
Well, it's kind of crazy how, like some of the things you mentioned then, it's kind of crazy how micro level you can go with it all. Like you can take the macro view, which is what we're going to get initially, kind of just almost bare bones Mario Kart style racing. But yeah, you could go super micro, into all the logistics and whatnot. And the other thing that's going to be very, very interesting to see is how the team's going to manage the allocation and setup of tracks. Like, yeah, how is the team going to police and manage? Like, if can any knucklehead come along and build a track in Portage Park or out of Sunset or somewhere, or how they're going to police that's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think what's great is Elijah, he's been doing a lot of work with the Real Node LA and his Ithaca run. I think that folks should really kind of look at what he's done and how he's put it all together. JR Wheels and what he's done with French Road is pretty amazing. And so I think that there are good examples of how people are thinking big. And if you're building a racetrack, it's big, right? But what's amazing is that there's also lots of opportunities for people who don't have the time, don't have the UPEX bankroll and so forth to get in, right? They can petition to be a driver. They can look to create their own garage functionality or something like that, right? One little garage doing, custom paint jobs for vehicles could be a great entry point. And, you build that big enough and you set one garage up in every city. Now you've become one of the biggest, car designers in Upland kind of thing, right? So there's ways that you can start small and build up into something huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know I've been kind of sleeping on it as well, but you've kind of lit a fire under me and I'm going to have to get my finger out. And I've got a lot of ideas, but yeah, I need to get them out and established, that sort of thing. So, all right, unless anybody else has something to chime in or ask Dak, we might wrap that up there. I'll give the last word to anybody. Otherwise, over to you, Dak, for a last wrap up. Going once, going twice. All right, wrap us up, Dak. Where can people find out more or get in touch?
Upland Racing League on Discord. We're happy to have you join, and little by little, more and more information is coming out. We will have a town hall on Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern to talk a little bit more about tracks, racing teams, and the business of URL.
Perfect. All righty. Thank you very much for jumping in and giving us the lowdown on what's happening and what's to come.
Thank you for having me.
All righty, Cheese, did you remember to get the UPEX wheels up and running? While you're getting that organized, I'll just give a bit of a heads up on some extra stuff that we've got happening in Midtown Terrace at the moment. As I previously outlined, I am doing a bit of a blitz with the UCC and my contract, but the UDU team is also gearing up to do a widespread Midtown Terrace blitz. So if you happen to have properties in Midtown Terrace, if you've already got a building going on there, if you haven't already, very soon you're going to see a whole bunch of Spark getting stacked on to helping you build and get those done. If you don't have a building up, but you do have properties in Midtown Terrace, yeah, you probably want to get something going there ASAP. And myself and the team are going to gear up and just blitz through and get as much as we can get smashed out, probably over at least the next week, maybe the next 2 weeks. And then myself, of course, that's my note. So I'll keep going on after that. But yeah, if you have some Midtown Terrace properties, now's the time to get building. All right, Hedge Go Cheese. Now I've got the wheel up as well, so we can find out who's going to roll for the big one meal. I'll bring that up now if it's going to work. Now, just to give you the heads up again, if you're not aware, to qualify for the 1 million UPEX wheel, you had to be in at the start of the show for the Jazzy Jazz to take the snapshot. You had to be in somewhere in the middle so that you heard the key phrase, which half the time we forget to do, but I remembered today, so good on me. And then, of course, you have to be here at the end. All right, so should we see who's going to win?
Yes.
Or not win. Who's going to go for it? Let's see. And if it's Cheese, she can't play again twice, so I should have taken her name off. Oh, look at this. It's going to be Cheese. Oh, no. Awesomeness.
Awesome.
Awesome. Are you there? You can reply chat. Are you there? Awesome?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Nice.
Hi.
All righty.
Hey.
What was the key phrase that you had to?
So not to be a jerk, but yeah, I was working, so I think I missed it.
Jeremy spoke in class today. Jeremy spoken
class
today.
Jeremy spoke in class today.
Oh, there you go. Well done.
Was
well
the key phrase? Thank you, Morecheese. We're the best.
She'll pay for that later. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I will. Ben really got after me.
She just nominated herself for 500,000 UPEX if it goes off.
I'm gonna do that every single time.
All right. Can you bring up the first
that
wheel?
was very useful.
All right, mate. Are you aware of how this all works?
I think I've seen it a couple times. Like you spin a wheel and then keep going, and then
Well, you don't have to keep going. That's the kind of the point. So the first wheel we've got is 25K maximum prize. So tell Cheese when to roll it.
Okay, let's roll it.
All right, let's see what we got. It'd be cool to see one of these bigger prizes go off too.
I know. Ooh. Oh my God.
You got it? Has he got it?
Wow.
25K. There you go. Now you're going to have to do a bit of thinking here. Are you going to bank that up?
Yeah, no, I'm a broke pro level, so 25K is kind of a big deal. But
awesome.
No, let's keep going.
Are you
Are you sure? Gosh, I thought you were going to bank that.
Wow.
Someone should tell him the odds. Someone should tell him the odds before.
Ben, tell him the odds before he goes. This is big.
Well, they do drop significantly. The more you play, the lower the odds get. But of course, you know the chance for the big prize is there. So yeah, it's up to you, mate.
Up to you.
I mean, yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, spin the wheel. I have like 850 UPEX to spend right now.
Wow.
So 25 would be cool, but
I love the fighting spirit.
No,
all right,
I
so we got
one of the low levels.
We got the 50K wheel now. Tell her when to spin.
So all right, concentrate and then tell me exactly when.
Okay. Let's spin it now.
It'd be funny if he gets the 50K as well.
I hope he does.
Well, I mean, then I feel like it's fate just to keep going.
True, yeah. 500. So he's going from 25K to 500 UPEX. All right. So I would imagine this is a bit of a no-brainer. This one, are you going to bank that UPEX or spin again?
No, we're going to spin that again. Let's go again.
All right.
All right. Tell me when.
Okay.
Option Guru can't watch.
Let's spin it.
All right. Let's see.
What are the odds?
Come on. Oh my God, it's coming. It's going. No.
Oh my gosh, you got shafted. 250 UPEX. All right. So
that's still exciting.
It was exciting.
Well, I'm going to sling you. I'm going to sling you 10,000 just for being a sport and playing on.
Oh, I thank you.
Oh.
So send me a DM to remind. And there's somebody else that played that I still haven't got their 10K. They got one of the weekly prizes a couple of weeks ago. So if you're listening and that was you, yeah, throw a shoe at me. I owe you 10K as well. So well done, mate.
All right. Yeah, great show. Love your show.
Very cool.
We love you also.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, Cheese, before we start wrapping up here?
I think we're good. I think we better go before my nose starts bleeding again.
And handle the pressure. 25K UPEX pressure wheels.
I know, that was exciting. Oh my God, I would have took it and ran.
Yeah, so would have I. But and I'm not going to offer that 10K every time, by the way. So we'll just see. That was a kind of first up special offer, that one.
Yeah, a win.
Yeah. Just a reminder as we're wrapping up that if you have an Upland NFT or Metaverse product, service, or event to promote, opportunities are available for sponsorship and engagement in the UDU podcast. Contact myself or Cheese to discuss and secure your spot. And as always, proceeds go towards giveaway and prizes on the podcast. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Help spread the word. As we said at the start of the show, it is open to the public each and every week via the MBE Discord server. We want people to get involved. We want this 1 million UPEX to go off, and it could be you. The more that we get that balance up, the more chances we have for that 1 million UPEX to go off. And it'd be awesome to see that go off before Genesis week. So we'll see how we go with my savings and my sales. We may even do something special so we ensure that goes off. But don't hold me to it. We'll see how we go. All right, Chase, wrap us up.
Love, peace, chicken wing. Get out of here.
Later.